Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Look at my pants, aren't they cool? I just bought them at Target today. Today's video idea was not my own. It was from my dear friend Mandie. She Snapchatted me yesterday and she said, Gabby, I have this great idea for you. And I was like, oh shit, this idea is perfection. Why didn't I think of this? So today, this video is going to be a mental health version of the first time tag. I don't know if you've heard of this, but it's kind of self-explanatory. Basically, it's just people telling people what their first time, you know, their first kiss or their first crush was. But today I'm doing a mental health version because Mandie suggested it and it's a good idea, so I'm gonna do that. Today we are just chilling on my bed because I feel like this is going to be a very therapeutic thing for me, so I'm just gonna chillax and talk to a camera. Cool, awesome. And I'm doing this today because mental health is not an easy thing to talk about. That's why there's such like a stigma around it, is because people don't like to talk about it. Spoiler alert, I talk about it a lot. So I figure if I share my first times with things relating to mental health, it'll help people be more open to talking about it themselves. Because the first time for anything mental health related can be kind of scary, hard to adjust to. So hopefully, you know, if I share my experiences, maybe it'll make people feel less isolated or understood. Because that's the biggest thing for me, is I feel like I'm never understood, like no one gets it, when that's not the case at all. So let's get into it. I have my list here. I'm not wearing my glasses because I don't want to, so I'm gonna be like staring at it like this. And I also might look cross-eyed. We're just gonna roll with it. Okay, so the first time I knew something was off, that was in middle school. Anxiety runs in my family, so I never thought of being anxious as, or rather being constantly anxious as a uncommon thing for people. Like, it didn't hit me, you know, I didn't realize that people aren't anxious all the time. Just having that anxiety in my family kind of normalized it for me. And then in middle school, I'd be panicking over the smallest things. And, you know, middle school is a time for a lot of realizations for people. Mine was, I'm anxious all the time, and that's apparently not normal. Excuse you. They're being very loud downstairs. This is what I get for living at home. So, first diagnosis. It was when I was 16, and it was with generalized anxiety disorder and major depressive disorder. See, it took me a while to see a therapist because, like I mentioned before, I kind of normalized this idea of being on edge all the time, because epiphany. But yeah, I was 16 when I was first diagnosed, and I'm currently 21, although I've had generalized anxiety disorder and depression for quite a while before that. My first therapy session, again, I was 16, and I went to see a child psychologist. And here I was, 16 years old, thinking I was a grown-ass woman, like...
I ain't seeing no child psychologist. They gonna treat me like a child.
And they did. And I should have been treated like a child because I was a child, but it just did not sit with me that I felt like I was being talked down to, so my first therapy session wasn't the best. And it kind of turned me off from going to therapy for a while, which is dumb, because just because you don't click with one therapist doesn't mean that you won't click with another person. Like, it's bound to happen. You're not going to click with everybody. But that was dumb of me. I suffered for a while. Going to therapy really helps. Well, it helps me. My first medication, I believe that was Lexapro. I don't know if this was a placebo effect, but it did work for a little bit, and then it stopped working, like, altogether. And like with the therapy session, it turned me off from medication completely. Like, there's more than one. There's so many psychiatric medications out there, and I'm like, I'm done. This doesn't work for me. So after Lexapro didn't work, I was off medication for a while. Ooh, this one's fun. First panic attack. I'm sure I've had panic attacks before this, but this is the first, like the earliest one I can remember. And that was when my dog got into chocolate and he almost died, like legitimately almost died. We had to rush him to the emergency vet. I would say it's a pretty valid response to, holy shit, my dog is dying, but it was a panic attack nonetheless. Okay, we're gonna get a little bit darker here. The first time that I self-harmed was about 4 or 5 months ago. I'd had thoughts about it before, but you know, I didn't actually do it until 4 or 5 months ago. Again, like I mentioned in my OCD video, do not start self-harming. No. Don't do that. Don't do that. No. It's bad. Don't do that. Wow, I'm getting dark here. First suicidal thought. I want to mention that everybody tends to have suicidal thoughts, and like again, I mentioned this in my OCD video. Everybody, I don't want to generalize and say everybody. A lot of people will have a suicidal thought now and then. It's not completely uncommon. While it is serious, it's not, you know, they happen. They happen. If you're having a thought, you need to talk to somebody. But, you know, don't feel like totally freaked out if that's happening. Do you get what I'm saying? My first suicidal thought happened when I was really sick. My senior year of high school. I was really sick with my Crohn's. Like, I felt like death. That was my first legitimate thought of wanting to die. Okay, here's a lighter note. My first moment of acceptance, and by this I mean accepting that I have mental illness, accepting that it's going to be a part of my life, accepting that it's not going to be easy, but I can do it. Just accepting that while having mental illness is part of me, it doesn't define me. It was kind of like an aha moment, like, you are not your mental illness, Gabby. I'm trying to be deep, and they're being so loud. I had realized this my junior year of college. And it was after I got out of a therapy session with my therapist. And we had started talking about definitions, because I would define myself as an anxious person, but rather I am just a person with anxiety. Does that make sense? There's a difference. But that's when I truly accepted that, yes, I do have a mental illness. It doesn't define me. It's going to be tough, but I can work through it because it doesn't define me. This is not who I am. I am Gabby. I'm 21 years old, and I'm a tiny person. Ooh, the first time that I experienced stigma, it was actually in one of my psychology classes. I don't quite remember which one it was. Being in a psychology class of all places. But I overheard these girls talking about how they had been prescribed a strong benzodiazepine. And they were talking about how, you know, people who take those medications are addicts and are going to get addicted to the drug, and it's not good for them. And I was like, well, I take that drug. So it made me feel really shitty about myself. It made, you know, like, it really stuck with me. It took a while to realize that taking medication is not a bad thing. It's okay to take medication. In fact, sometimes it's essential to take medication to feel better. Gabby, it's okay to take your meds. Ooh, another stigma was that anxiety was made up. This actually happened in another class, but it was my freshman year of college. In an English class, and we had to give presentations. And I gave a presentation about mental health. It was, are people being overdiagnosed with mental illness, or is there just an increased amount of mental illness? If that makes sense. Like overdiagnosis versus an actual problem here. And it was a discussion, so people would speak up and talk after I gave my presentation. And some girl just flat out said, like, anxiety is made up. You know, it's made up. What? Excuse me? I don't know if that's stigma, rather ignorance, but it's not. What the fuck? My first compulsive behavior. This was pulling out my hair. Now I've done this my whole life, and I didn't realize that this was a compulsive behavior until recently. But I would pull out my hair and I would feel the tiny little hairs on the top of my head because that was satisfying to me and it relieved my anxiety. I would also pick at my gums until they bleed. Don't do that. My gums hurt. I still do that, and I like pick at my lip. Okay, the next thing I have on here is first realized when I was interested in mental health, and that was actually in high school. For my AP Studio Art profile, we had to choose a theme for all of our artworks, and I chose, spoiler alert, mental illness, but I made like art through the eyes of somebody with mental illness, and I didn't realize that I was so interested in it until I was making art of it. And that's actually my next point, which is the first time I found a healthy coping mechanism. I was making art. It's still my coping mechanism today. Like, I was having a really shitty day the other day, so I pulled out my sketchbook and just literally just started scribbling. And it made me feel a little bit better. I guess that's it. Thank you to Mandie for giving me this idea. I hope this video was entertaining. I don't know. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Better yet, hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed it. Oh, hit that notification bell button if you want to get notified every time I make a video, which is... who knows? I don't... Thank you for watching. You guys, you're great. One day I'll learn how to end a video properly.
Wonder where I've been. Got a thing for you, and I can't